Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Welcome back to Question Time Live, episode 111. Oh my God, I've been man down. That has been ridiculous. You might still hear it now, to be fair, because whatever it was, some bug virus that ended up with a sinus infection, and it's just been brutal. So luckily, the old steroids seem to be kicking in now and clearing it up. But the most depressing bit of it all, from a man who loves his food, I've not been able to taste oat for about 10 days now or smell it. It's the most depressing thing ever. But there we go. That's me. At least I've got enough energy now to make it through tonight. There was absolutely no hope last week. The week before that was a struggle. My days, winter, eh? Who needs it? Richard, no, more than a sniffle, mate. Honestly. Absolutely full-blooded man flu, mate, let me tell you. But there we go. So, what's been happening? Plenty my end. Ricky Stoddart, Nishikigoi, since it launched, has been going an absolute storm, to tell you the truth. WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, it's all absolutely flying and buzzing. We've got some pretty cool things going on behind the scenes, albeit it's slowed right down just recently through my severe illness, let's call it. And buzzing. Sakai Pond harvested last week, so we're getting close to starting to work through them, get some updates out for people. I've got now my fish in there, which are going to continue to be raised through to those super big Nisai I'll be looking to produce 55, 60 cm in my sights now. And I have actually got one of those, couple of fish to share with you this evening that if you're not in the WhatsApp group, you might not have seen. Actually, two pieces I offered out for sale last night, one of which I think is just an absolutely excellent lesson in Sankey development. So, going to be featuring that in a little bit. Other than that, I don't think there's too much. I think it's probably fair to say we're on catch up a bit. So get your questions fired in, people. And we'll get through them and get started on them as soon as we can. Apologies if you do hear me sniffling. It's become an absolute habit now, getting on my nerves big time. We have got, you might have seen actually the pretty epic video that dropped on the channel of the client's pond when I was delivering to three amazing fish, those two epic Kindai showers, the Dainichi one and the NND one. Can't wait to actually get stuck into that. So at the end of the month, we're going to be delivering another load of his fish that he's got at my place. And at that point, we're going to sit down and get this documentary filmed. And I can't wait, honestly, to share the story on that one, because that journey is just crazy. I don't know how the guy stuck at it, in all honesty. The infamous Dr. Death was involved, and I just can't. I've got no words, to tell you the truth. But luckily, managed to get that one fixed up. And I think, the process, the problem-solving process is what I want to share, because this, for me, is just generally a standard in looking at and tackling everything. But it's the little system at the end I've implemented that's put the finishing touch on it, and the finishing touch on that water that you saw as well. Just in case any of you out there was concerned that I didn't know how to achieve that kind of water clarity, let me tell you, it is in there in the locker. Just because I choose not to. There's a difference between choosing not to and not knowing. So, really, really can't wait to share that one with you all. Other than that, not too much more to report. It's going to be December before I know it, so I'm going to be heading off to Japan, which I am looking forward to. I've been such a good boy, sat here, getting on with all my work, getting these projects finished. So it's going to be nice to get out there. So many Azakari fish still to check. There's just, honestly, that whole process is mental. How these big farms actually manage it all is quite remarkable, to be honest. But it'd be nice to get some my own pictures of stuff as well, to be honest. So that was actually, I enjoyed that the other day. You'll see these couple of pictures earlier. I don't get on the camera very much, but all the lads were busy. So I thought, right, I'm going to jump on now. And because there was such, I feel like, prize fish of mine, wanted to get it right, and then even had a bit of a tweak with my editing and bits, because I always like to make some improvements that I can pass on to the lads. So that was all good. And other than that, I think it's fair to say winter is slowly arriving, depressing as that is. What can I say? I just feel for the unheated guys. The hobby gets tough this time of year. It really, really does. But luckily, with the content and stuff that's out there these days, and events, like we're trying to get and put on, it can keep you engaged and really involved in the hobby throughout these winter months. But it is also amazing to see, the heat pumps over on the Telegram group. It's probably the most popular channel that we've got set up, is the heat pumps one. There is some amazing support in there as well from heat pump owners, advice on setups and running costs. But I'll keep repeating this. It really does seem now as if the running costs are actually the negligible part in all that process. It's a case more so of the initial investment up front to get the heat pump, but one well worth doing that's going to make a massive improvement for your hobby, to be honest with you. So, yeah, well worth looking at that one. Yeah, right. I'm going to have a quick look for some questions. Do get firing them in, people, and we're going to rally through these tonight. And at some point, we'll have a look at these two fish that I've got lined up. Oh, we should see who's here first, actually. A few of you guys were here at 20 to 7, which was quite impressive. But it looks like we've got people from all over. Samuel over in Koikenalen, Denmark, and looks like we've got Norway. Amazing. Yes. Wow, that's awesome. It is, buddy. It really is. Evening sick note. I love that. Dear. Honestly, it has done my freaking head in. I don't like being slowed down, and it has managed to do it. You know what? If you're not careful, I'm just going to go on permanent strike. That'll teach you. So many of you tuning in. Amazing to see every week. Ball bags in the house. Oh, here we go. First question. Hi, Ricky. How slowly would you lower pond temp when preparing for winter? Currently dropping. Yeah, that rad seems very sensible to me, pal, to be honest. It's just a case of, I would say, drop it, get down a few, maybe 3 or 4 degrees, but then just stop for a little, let the pond adjust. Make sure you're adjusting the feeding level down as well while you're doing it. But yeah, it's just gradual, but let the system adjust rather than keep drop. Because when you stop at that point, it's going to adjust probably too much or have too much to adjust to. So just slowly, and then probably stop, give it a week, let it thing, and then keep that dropping. So yeah, this is what it is. This kind of stuff, when you drop it into it, it's more managing filters than anything, but not invoking any stress in the fish. But most importantly, as you are doing that, it's reducing that feeding right down with it, so you don't overstretch the system as that water temperature is coming down, because that's what is going to produce the problems for you. Yes, I think a few people are looking forward to that one, Susan. And yeah, I'm not seeing any football banter in here, to be fair, at minute, guys, which is, we've been on such a streak, haven't we, at the end of the day? It's obviously shushed you all up, because obviously we're going to end up winning league now with a new manager. So even I struggle keeping a straight face then, to be fair. The Koi Explorer, Mr. Satch, how are you, mate? Going into these colder months, what's the hardest thing you have to deal with having multiple ponds and polytunnels? I mean, inside, nothing really, because the boiler's on, that's firing. What we got now, 11 ponds, 12 ponds outside that are heated as well. So that's really nice. I got full control out there. To be honest with you, it's just the ponds that aren't heated, of which, yeah, fish are settled into them already, which isn't a problem. I can't go, it's now too cold. There's no way I'm adding fish into them ponds now and it all go into plan. Not the way I move them, by the way. I'm talking like mass introductions of fish into a pond, even if they're starved down or whatever it is. It's probably going to rock them, and then they're going to, go into a sulk, and they're just not going to like it. So that's the bit, and that's the reason why, to be honest, we're just looking to get everything on heat as soon as we can, because it's pretty sad, really, when you're losing that amount of ponds for fish movements and all the rest of it. If I can get them out warm, where they are, and really slowly build them into it, it's not too bad. But don't forget, not only if I move them from A to B in their equalizing temperature, it's a change in environment, even though the water's all very similar. Even the process of catching them all up, netting them, moving them, it's another stress event. And just if something triggers and goes wrong in that process, they are going to sulk, and they're going to take some pulling round when there's no water temperature. So, yeah, other than that, it's pretty, with the heat, it's pretty straightforward, and nothing really changes. To be honest, it's not like I've got the extremes of even the heat of summer to deal with in the greenhouses. It's probably a little bit more controlled. In some of the ponds indoors, like with the big fish, for example, now I'm actually in their peak feeding season, because I've not got the super high temperatures and the oxygen levels to manage in the same way as I have to. So now, like with the big fish, is the time of year when I'll really start building the body mass on them that I couldn't necessarily do in the summer. And that's all been planned. It's been the same in a few ponds that, you just let them grow, they kind of stretch out a little bit, keep them ticking over. And then when I've got full control back is the time that you hit them and get that stuff done. Oh, Mickey's got it. Look, like and subscribe. Yes, folks, please do. Honestly, makes a massive difference to the way that these videos get distributed to others. So at the very least, hit that like button. It's not going to hurt you. And if you're not subscribed, you really, really should be by now. I mean, come on. Absolute vanity mission. Just love seeing them numbers go up. But hey, if it keeps me inspired, then why not? Perrin, evening, Ricky. I take it. Which breed is your go-to for Ginrin, Karashigoi, especially with yellow monkey being expensive? Great banter in the group. Yes, agreed. So I think it's probably fair to say that the Saito ones, it's got to be. Still got some stunners. I think he's done a cracking job with them. The only bit for me different, because he's got the colour, he's got the Ginrin level quality. The only bit different is the body setup is different, bone structure wise. They can grow. Don't get me wrong; they really can grow. They've just not got the same power elements in the bone structure as the yellow monkey. So yeah, I mean, yellow monkeys would be my go-to. Look, I introduced them over here to everybody. I'm a massive, massive fanboy of them. Fully expect to be getting my hands on some this year, seeing as though that the spawning seems to have gone to plan. But yeah, that we're just sitting tight on as well at the moment. Typically, the way I buy them is when they come up in the auctions, and hoping that they do, because obviously it's the quality level that I want from there that makes its way, tends to be higher. This time of year, you can get stuff come available, but often it is really just, I don't want to say waste product, but thinned out. You've got to watch it. But yeah, I tend to just wait, the turn of the year, the auctions come, and then that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to pounce on. And fingers crossed we'll get some. But Saito, I hopefully again be securing some of those. So there'll be the two options. But honestly, 3 Saito, Sansai that I'm sat on, they are really doing the business. And like I said, the only difference for me is in the body setup. Long term, with that big growth, yes, the Saito ones are going to be capped. I mean, the parent fish, Amarido, Ginrin, Karashi, I believe is only 80 odd cm. So look, they're not going to be 90 centimeter plus fish. Although I'm not sure I've seen a 90 odd centimeter yellow monkey yet either. Although that said, I know the size of the parents from that Dainichi stuff. So there's not really a genetic limitation in there. They're probably just not actually established and mature enough yet to have got there. So yeah, there'll be nice options, hopefully all round. But let's see what we can do. But yeah, for me, if it's not them, it's the Saito ones for sure. Good evening. Tony, updates on Koi Talk magazine. Yes, buddy, I have. To be honest with you, did fall behind a little bit, and it's because of the other issue. Talk about tripping myself up. The one that I'm piling in for everybody as a free gift. has caused me a few snags with that one, buddy. But we are very, very close on getting there. I want to get them distributed together. Otherwise, that is going to cost me a fortune, to be fair. And in amongst it all, yes, we'll get there. We will get there. And can't wait. Ricky, what are your thoughts on the new pond detox from Aqua Utopia from the tests? It looks promising. Should remove heavy metals, chloramines, and toxins from the water. Yeah, I can't comment because I've not used it. I've not even, I say a lie. I think I have seen it. Is it the one in the white? Is it a white bag or something like that? My general comment on it is, because I'm going to wait until it comes round to this pond documentary that you're going to see, because additives are great if you need something for a quick fix or something like that. But I'm more for permanent solutions, because permanent solutions can give you stability and predictability, and you're not going to have water changing to in and throwing on a constant basis. So, yeah, I'm just not for additive. Bit of clay, absolutely love. Great flocculant, does some wonderful things for your pond. I've always stood by PSB as well. I think it's a great additive. But other than that, I'll reserve judgment and just stick with my basis that, again, chucking stuff all in your pond constantly is not for me. These things can change the environment too rapidly as well, which I'm not a big fan of. That being said, like I say, I have not seen it, but just sit tight, because when you see, like I say, some of the permanent solutions fitted to get that pond on the channel working where it is, that for me is what it is all about. And not crazy expensive ones either, because you also know that's what I'm not about. After watching your videos on yellow monkeys a while back, and then the one on golden corn, my ponds are now very, very shiny yellow. That's awesome. Yeah, nice one, Am. That's brilliant. That's it. You've got it, Nigel. Hit that like button, people. Right, Susan. My pond is heated to 20C. Finally got ammonia to 0. Nitrite is 0.25 ppm, so salt to 0.3. Some koi have wounds too. Now found a few fluke. Can I treat for fluke with 0.3% salt level? To answer your question, Susan, yes, you can. That's not a problem at all. I think the bit here is, I know you've been fighting this from you tuning in every week now. Part of the problems with that pond I'm speaking about was this mass bacterial infection that it had, and there was massive reoccurring parasites there. Now, before I kind of stepped in with it, and the day I did step in and just introduced the thought that, have you ever considered that the parasites are actually the secondary issue to the bacterial problem that you've got going on? Because when all that is rife in the environment, it's a huge stress, it's a huge pressure on the fish. And then when they ulcerate as well, they're becoming weaker. These parasites are just secondary. So I think it's really imperative, Susan, that you get on top of your bacterial issue. I don't know what's out there to help you. You could probably do with getting something sampled, then some antibiotics that are going to actually treat the problem and actually eradicate it. Because I think you'll find at that point, when you've got on top of that, your parasite issues will go away at the same time. And this is really across the board with these type of things. You know, parasites aren't always the primary, because in the case I'm talking about here, he was actually led to believe that the parasites were causing the problem. And it weren't until I said, no, the bacterial problem here is the primary. Parasites are secondary. How it all started exactly, I will never know. Susan, maybe you've got some idea. And it can be that parasites are the primary, but by the time that the bacterial infections take over, they are no longer the main source of the problem. Hey, Ricky, I've seen a lot of beautiful Nisai being harvested around the 35, 36 cm mark. Is that too small for Nisai, or is there still hope for huge growth? Fantastic question. I'm glad you've asked this. Yeah, so, right, 30 to 35 cm is what, once upon a time, people called Nisai. That was the standard. It was the benchmark. It was the everything. It's what you expected them to be. Then all of a sudden, guys started producing them at 40 to 45 cm. Now, not forgetting that these at 30 to 35 cm at some point in their life made a big fish. Yeah, then they became 40, 45, and it's like, oh, wow. And then all of a sudden, they're 50 to 55. Now you're getting Sakai doing 55, 60, and then a bit beyond as standard. Now, yes, those 30 to 35, right? Size for age will play a part at some point. But the issue at 30 to 35 as a Nisai is okay, but we've got to look at all the process gone before it. So if that was maybe a Tosai that was introduced to a mud pond at, say, 15 to 18 cm, it's actually had a phenomenal growth period if you look at it. Those fish can do the business. It's likely going to take them more. What you might find is the year-on-year growth will be bigger as well. Providing you do get good year-on-year growth, which is important. If you take that Nisai now and then you kind of miss a season at 30 to 35 and then you go and try and come back, that's going to be a limiting factor. But let's not forget the main limiting factors in all this are the genetics, and that's back in the bloodline of the fish, but also much more closely related to the actual direct descendant, the parent that it descends from. Those things are going to be more governing factors in where the fish can get to rather than its size for age. Now, like I say, I would want to, at that size, I'd want to keep them moving at a good pace consistently. And yes, it will take them longer to get there, but that's probably been introduced as a Tosai at a given size. Now, I've had fish at Nisai, this kind of size, but I understand why. It's because the size they came to me and when they came to me, I couldn't physically grow them any faster if I wanted to. So if I've got something coming to me at 15 cm and it's coming February, and it's already by now, it's hitting nearly 40 cm. Fantastic, 30, 35, whatever it is. Even them small Nisai at 20 to 25, they can still go on and do the business. It's all about the bone structure, the body shape, the bloodline, the parent it descends from. All those things are far, far more important. People get too hung up on that bit. Now, let's not forget as well, the bigger Nisai get, the more expensive they become as well. So ultimately, as you're moving up in them sizes, you might be making more sacrifices on your budget as well. So much more to it that will sit before that bit there, to be honest. Yeah, it's impressive to see all these big Nisai, but all that's happening is, if the genetic capability is 80 cm, whether you get it there in 4 years or 6 years doesn't make any difference. The likelihood is if you get it there in 6 years, you probably won't have pushed it as hard. So it might end up a healthier fish. I'm not saying that that's absolutely the case when they're pushed, because some fish are just naturally big growers as well for the size for age. But yeah, it all comes down to, it might just be the way the breeders raised it this particular summer. It might have been that it had the potential to grow to 45, 50, but because of the way it's been raised, that's where it's got. It's more important to kind of know the history as well, and let's say the origin of the farm, what's been done with it, because I don't think anybody's going to argue if that went in a mud pond in April at 15 cm and it's come out at 35. That's remarkable. That's superb growth. Do you want to carry it on through the winter? Maybe at them kind of sizes you could. It wouldn't hurt it. Certainly, as it's still Nisai, wouldn't be doing that too much as they become bigger and older. But at that point, not a problem whatsoever. I think it's very, very important to just be conscious of, benchmarks and your standards becoming, Nisai should be 50 cm because I want to grow it to 80. I say it time and time again, it drives me bonkers. How many people actually end up growing a fish to 80? But all this shit drummed into our heads. And don't get me wrong, I like raising them big. It's fantastic. But the actual amount of fish that get there and are actually any good as well, it's crazy. And we're, most of the time we're not talking about crazy budgets. We remind you again, at some of these farms that are producing, your benchmark stuff, 50, 55, 60 centimeter in this size, big money fish. It's out of the reach of most people. So you want to be looking around these sizes, 30, 35, 40, 45. It's just normal. Actually, still, the 50, 55 and all the rest of it is, at that level of breeder it tends to come from. Yeah, it's more of a normal, it's more of a standard, but this is all just to do with the way that the fish are raised. We take a little place like Tanaka Kazuhiro, for example, up in Takizawa village. Great farm, produces a lot of great varieties, got a lot of quality to his fish. Now he'll eventually produce some nice sizes, 70, 75, 80. If you're sat there and you don't think that's a nice size and that's not a big fish, then you're absolutely crazy, let me tell you. And his Tosai will go in around 20 centimeter mark. and he'll harvest roughly at 40, 45 centimetres. That's the way the place is. 35 absolute lowest end. Then they'll go in. Sanzai will be 55-ish, maybe around that. But they'll just keep going slowly, steadily, improving and keeping that quality. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Your Genji's another one. You know, your Genji will typically always be a bang on kind of 40, 45 cent this side. Most your Genji bloodlines have got the pedigree to really smash size. 80, nice benchmark with some going beyond it. They've got fish there that have proved it, you know. So it's all, yeah, I think people get too hung up, but this is just because of the language and rhetoric that come from certain places. And the way that, you know, kind of 80, 90 centimetre is banded around it is absolutely fucking nothing. It's not nothing. If you look, there's been a lot of Dainichi videos this autumn. If you look at the amount of fish they've got, right, of quality, and I mean absolute quality, at those big, big sizes, it's a few ponds full. They are producing hundreds of thousands of fish per year that eventually becomes that small pondful at that kind of level, and every other breeder is the same. You know, it's really, really, really tough, and I think it just gets spoken about as if it's so commonplace and that easy. If you're you know, looking at maybe a couple of £1,000 budget on a Nisai, is that a fish that can go the distance and still have the quality? There'll be something compromised, absolutely full of compromise somewhere in that fish. Likely be the pattern, let me tell you, because I'm thinking of a farm now you could go to and get something that could do it, probably with the body and the Benny quality and Shiroji for a Kohaku, for example. But they'll be absolutely fucking naff all pattern. That's actually a really good point, again, to move on to here, because I have been mentioning it a bit more. Oh, sorry, guys. I've spent so much time speaking, yes, body, skin, and I think that's important because I'm trying to undo and help undo the base part, the base thought process, which is to be drawn to pattern. Now, my head isn't wired. My head sees body and skin before everything else. So basically, I'm almost assessing on pattern and quality, because if anything's out with them other two, I won't even look at it. It'll just get, my eyes will just skip past it. But it's a hard habit to unteach, because naturally you're drawn to the beautiful things, which tends to be the pattern side of it. And now even that, because of that rhetoric, and I'm not the first person to have banged on about it, many people have, but it's like pattern then becomes unimportant. Pattern is probably actually the most important when it comes to the value inside of it, because the value at the point where there's such quality. So if you take a decent farm, I say a really decent farm, a Marido, Nogami, Hoshikin, somebody like that, the base level qualities at that farm in Nisai is generally exceptionally high. Yeah, they'll be of a size 50, 55 at least. They'll generally have good skin. Obviously, there'll be differences in that when we get into some of the depths of it. But naturally, they produce very, very good Beni, Sumi, Shiroji, Luster, all the rest of it. So your differences will come in kind of Sashi quality and Kiwa quality generally. So you dismiss all that. That is the base level at them farms. So what does actually dictate the difference between one of them fish costing £1,000 and 10 grand? It's the pattern. That is it. The pattern and the associated risk. But the associated risk is typically in the pattern again. So if you take a Sankey, for example, your difference there is you might have all them equal qualities. You might have two absolutely amazing base Benny patterns on there, but one of them's got all the Sumi up and is super predictable. The other one's got the Sumi sat down. There again is that risk element I've spoke about before. That is right there. One big difference, but ultimately they're both higher priced fish because you can see A, pattern potential, but then B, just an absolutely amazing pattern. So that side of it is so hugely important. All these fish you see behind me on the magazines and all the rest of it, they got where they got because of the pattern. You know, yes, they've got all the qualities, but that's just a base level. It's a given in all that. It's the patterns that make them win the prizes. More so in Japan now, the unique patterns, you know, the bit of quirkiness to them and something that's not actually been seen all that much. You know, 3-step, 4-step Kohaku is just kind of like, it's another 3-step, it's another 4-step. Not all that impressive. So hopefully you see there that is just so vital. It's a huge part of it. And yeah, worth thinking about and bearing in mind. And like I said, when I talk about compromises, it is often if you're going for certain criteria, i.e., you're trying to make your budget fit at a Dainichi or someone like that. I guarantee it's always likely pattern you'll be compromising on for sure, because it's just ultimately the bit that when you stick, you see it in the auctions, and even I see what I would consider inferior fish quality wise, absolutely racing on and going nuts because of the pattern. Always, it just sells. So, yeah, worth bearing in mind, but very, very good question, that one. Is it normal for koi to peck at other koi's wounds? It can be. I have seen it done before. I have no idea why, Susan, to tell you the truth, but I have seen it. So yeah, not abnormal at all. David Martin, at what point to stop feeding? Pond currently, oh my God, 9.5 degrees. Fish still keen on feeding, giving them a little wheat germ, which they demolish. Just keep it very, very little, David. A telltale sign if you are continuing feeding is keep it bare minimum. But the minute they hit the deck, you stop. And don't be too reactive then at that point, that when they come up, you've got to be super careful at that point as well, to be honest with you. But yeah, if they're still keen, just be absolute bare minimal amounts. Alvin, when you allow koi to rest in winter, do you cut off food completely? I'm in California. I cover the pond. Temperature is around 60 F64. I want the koi to rest in December and January. Yes, so you can do. Alvin, if you choose. Generally, I think you've got to assess this by the fish. So if your fish are going into winter malnourished, skinny, and a little bit underweight, to be honest, at that point, I am probably going to look to try and keep them on food, as above when I answered David's question, when they are actually looking for it, but being very, very, very careful. Can't stress that enough. Other than that, if you're giving them a rest, if providing that they've had a good summer, they're carrying the right weight, it also might be that you might want to just slim them off a little bit. So, they're carrying that on there to carry it through, then fantastic. No harm in that either. I do know breeders that just literally do not feed from the minute they harvest right through. Yes, they're in cold water generally, but that can be a good 5-6 months. But you will slim that body right down. But it is on the basis that they've had a very, very good summer. Ikarashi Kazuto was actually the guy for this. I mean, my God. So from harvest, you'd see him absolutely fantastic. Then you'd get him to the point where you see him in spring. And you just think, wow, what has he done to them? Just it's just gone. The weight's gone. But then they absolutely explode in the mud ponds when they get out there. And it was just a phenomenal process to watch some of these fish bulk up, slim down, grow. Crazy. But one thing he did is his fish had fantastic longevity and always super, super high quality. So they were pretty much testament to that sort of routine. Evening, Gary. Evening to you all. Right, what we got here? Foss fishing. I got a new job at a pond supply store in the States. Can't thank you enough for inspiring me to keep on in this field. Here is a more fun question. What is your favorite variety? Good luck. First of all, that's amazing to hear. It really, really is. Favorite variety? Oh my God, this does flip flop. I think there is clearly a base level one. Shearer Utsaw is right in there in the mix because that's a tell. But I could go on and on with this. Asagi, Shiro, Ginrin Showa, to be honest with you, really, really soft spot for. But there's always something, always. But those ones especially, if I can get my hands on them, I always tend to go absolutely wild. So I'll go with them. You ain't getting me to one. Absolutely no chance. But then, there's always the stuff that comes around. Golden Corn, absolutely love them. The new Saito Shunku's having a lot of fun with. Yellow Monkeys, absolutely superb. Sanki's been a very, very recent obsession that I don't actually think has gone away yet either. Crazy. So I don't think you can be a coy nut and tie yourself to one thing. It's just those few varieties in particular always seem to rope me in, to the point now where I do have an Asagi pandemic. I've got a pond that's got about 150 Otsuka ones in now that I think are crocking on for about 30 centimeters a piece. That's going to get thinned out very soon as well. I mean, who needs that many? It's mental, but yeah, that's when you know it's just me enjoying something at that point, to be honest. Traveling to Japan, I presume they're in March. Which breeder for Nisai, Ginrin Chagoi, pale brown colour would you recommend? Marido or Marihiro, probably, on that one, to be honest with you. So I think they'll do the job and have a good trip. Was told recently by an experienced koi keeper that koi grow the most September, October, as females have got rid of their eggs and can put all their efforts into growing. Is there any truth in this? Yeah, a little bit, Richard. Certainly with the female fish more so, but with the bigger ones in general, it's just a better time. Obviously, oxygen levels are tough. When it's really, really warm, it's tough for them because that oxygen can make them really quite sluggish. Yeah. There is, and I've said it before, I'm moving into peak season for a few of them now as well. Although Dainichi haven't got Black Zeus this up and coming season, do you still think they'll try again for the following year? Just forget about it now. From what I've heard, they're just abandoning that mission now, to be honest, Craig, which is a shame. Camera seems to be having a hissy fit as well. Yeah, me neither, to be honest. Sorry to continue. His idea was to keep the pond at 20C until end of November to get max results. Yeah, Richard. I mean, I'm there with that, with the big fish. Like I said, that I'm doing at the minute. I just not at 20C. That seems mental to me. It'd be 22 or my usual 24, or generally cycling between them. To be honest. Good evening, Sean. Keith, I'm going to leave that question. Obviously, treating incoming with your carbons is the biggest point, but the rest of it I'm going to leave until this documentary because I think that's going to really, really kick on from that point. Yes, right, folks, just bear with me one moment because my nose is that bunged up. I'm just going to grab a tissue. One sec. God, we're doing headed. Right, let's go. Yeah, so Keith, we will come to that for sure, buddy. I think I'd rather just sit tight because there's going to be a nice sort of case study there to tie it all in. Because again, metals was something identified as part of the problem with all this. Not to keep giving too much of it all away, but yeah, I think the solution I come to there with that one was pretty cool. Susan been feeding antibiotic food too. If it's not helping, what I would probably say is you need to, if you've not had it diagnosed, you might not necessarily be on the right antibiotic, which can be the case. Antibiotic resistance is a thing, and that's why it's important to get the strain identified and have that then sensitivity tested to get the absolute right antibiotic. Obviously, feeding it orally can be a bit hit and miss. Not every fish gets it. You've got to make sure you get enough in, and it might actually need a couple of courses to do it. Good evening, everyone. Question, Ricky. Grown is at 20.6. What ratio of colour food to balance would you use over winter? Any news on LED lights as under polycarbonate sheeting? Yeah, so that pond again, I'll keep going back to it. It's going to be a case study for a lot. Is actually what we're going to be using for testing some of these light units on, as well as at my place. 20.6, I'd look to up that a little bit if you could. I'd prefer sort of 22. And it really depends on what you've got going on. If you've got a really mixed pond, it's a bit better to go a bit lighter on the colour food. So kind of 25 to 30% if you've got a really mixed pond that contains anything like Shirotsauri and stuff like that, just to decrease the chance of any negative impacts. But yeah, other than that, if you want to up it more because you're really working on bennies, then up to 50%. If you feel like you need any catch up in regards to colour, feel free to feed it 100% for like, a month period and really give it a boost. You will find that we'll still get a bit of decent growth on a colour food as well. They're especially with the likes of Saki colour, it's a very, very well balanced food that can do the business. Terry, good evening, mate. Mixed koi pond. I've had a really bad time with this year with bacterial infection. Received great support from Darren Absolute Koi, my local dealer, and thankfully the problem has been resolved up there. Very, very glad to hear that, Mick. If he's your local dealer as well, buddy, you must be around my neck of the woods, mate. When do koi stop growing? You probably answered this before, Terence. To be honest, it's when you stop giving them the environment to grow, or the genetic limitation kicks in and stops them from growing, pal. To be honest with you. Lee, good evening. Ricky Magrone is currently 25 degrees and the koi are about 10 to 20 cm. I'm feeding on sake. Am I pushing them too much? Feeding 4 times daily? No, Lee, not whatsoever. If you're at 25, mate, I would say you're not pushing them enough. I'd want to be going in every 2 hours at 25 degrees, buddy, or you might find that you're not going to get the volume on them enough. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, if you get the feeding level high enough spread over the 4, that's fine. But they metabolize really quickly at that temperature. So, yeah, personally, I'd be wanting to get that in every couple of hours and build from there. Ricky, you should give Complete Pond Detox a try. You often talk about how bad our water is. You might like it. Yeah, that's all good and well, but that's not going to change my thoughts on additives. My thoughts are stuff like this needs permanent, stable solutions. So there already is stuff out there that deals with a one-off detoxification of metals in the ponds. But if you're not dealing with the problem, then it's just going to keep coming back, and you need to keep throwing an additive at it. And what that's going to do is keep fluctuations and swings. And as we know, koi don't like fluctuations. So that's where I'm at with that one. But if there's anything out there I feel is going to benefit stuff, I'm the first one to try it. But at the end of the day, I have a methodology in the way I do things and core beliefs that clearly deliver results that can't be contested. And for me, like I say, permanent solutions are where it's at with stuff like that, rather than needing to keep buy stuff to chuck it in to keep fixing it. That being said, I have got something else I am going to be testing out. It looks like in the new year, which again is a permanent based solution for a problem I'm looking to solve to really boost on and kick on the growth. And that's cannot wait for that one. Let me tell you, new bit of technology, which. Yeah, keep it simple. This bit of kit's probably, in the way it works, is going to be quite simple. The internal mechanics of it aren't, but it's not actually going to be messing around with a core system. So, yeah, very, very interested to see how it pans out. But the science behind it seems absolutely incredible. Where's the best sources to study about parent fish and lineages of farms of koi types I'm interested in? It's hard. There's a lot of information out there on Google, of course. There are books. Koi 1 and 2 by Harold Bachman were very, very good. There's some fantastic kind of core information in there. I don't know if they make them anymore, though. You might be able to get some secondhand, maybe. They were absolutely fantastic. I believe I've got... No, I don't know where they ended up. I used to have 2 copies of them, but... yeah. Oh, actually, there's another one that's quite good. And again, I don't know, but let me just bear with me a second. This is fantastic. But again, I don't know if they make it anymore. Koishi by Kodama, who I believe is Japanese, spent a lot of time there before they moved out to the States. But as you will see, I really like the breeder information in it all. Loads on the different farms and history and stuff like that. Look, bit of Q&A stuff as well. So it's kind of first hand, which I like. Yeah, great book there. Absolutely great book. I've got that out. I quite fancy reading that again myself now. So if you can get your hands on something like that, fantastic. Like I say, I just don't know if they're about. Phil, hi Ricky. Is it possible to get a koi to 1 meter in a 5,500 gallon pond? Phil, I believe you've proved that, have you not? And with a stinking old male fish that I sourced once upon a time, buddy. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I presume you are talking about your Momotaro male Sankey. I know you did mention the other day you've got that to 1 meter now, which is absolutely phenomenal. So remember, I picked that at the 2016 Wakagoi as a Nisai. My God, did it stand out. Absolutely phenomenal fish. Yes, Mickey, news on merchandise. I currently have a full clothing line in development, hoping to have the samples of all that through next week, to be honest. So at that point, we'll hopefully get a bit rolled out. Calendar's not sure on that one, mate, for this year, but let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, I forgot about my koi appreciation bit. Oh, look at that, getting too carried away. Right, let's have a look. Good evening, Rick. What are you going to use now for growing on your younger koi? Now, Saki growth will no longer be available in the UK. Yeah, Gaz, I'm not even commenting on that right now, buddy. Yeah, I'll just be surprised if I don't get my hands on some, let's say. But yeah, in fact, I'm just not going there with that one, guys. Close to, believe me, close to fucking exploding on that one, but not right now. Not right now. Right, let's get to some. So I'm just reading down comments, everyone. Okay, right, because that just looks like a bit of internal chat, guys. Let me load this screen up and show you what I've got here. So I'm going to start. Let's just start with a bit of wow, to be fair, because this fish is just a wow. Right. Boom. Admire the fish, admire the quality of that picture as well, I must say. Yeah, so this is a Matsukawabaki from Saito. Sansai female, 50 cm, just wowzers. Really, really wowzers. I mean, these things are unique at the best of times. And, God, I mean, they don't get much more funky than that. Exactly where we're going to end up, I don't know. That is part of the joy of them. I know this fish has been like this for a long time now, but winter I'll see, because this is when the sumi is really going to kick on, if it's going to. But the way it's kind of positioned in the scales is leaving me wondering exactly what it is going to do, to be honest with you, and whether it might stay that way. But that aside, technically here, absolutely mad. So what we've got, the body line for a start. So this fish originates from his Ginrin Karashi spawning, which was the 80-odd centimeter Marino Ginrin Karashi crossed with 2 Matsukawabakis that he said originated from Sakai Mango or Silver Fox, somewhere at that origin. And I mean, yeah, just look at it. Pattern wise, it's wow, but for me, then it's those technical qualities are just so superb. The body line, the height of it, the power across them shoulders, proportionally, it's just superb. The sumi quality is immense. The shiroji, you can see its thickness and its shine, and even not at its best, because this pond is on color food, which is tainting it. Lovely, lovely head shape, you see, great mouth, just the whole bit of it. So I'm pretty confident this will get to 60, 58, 60 cm by next year as a Sansai. That's pretty good going for Saito. Might even be a little bit bigger. Who knows? That is only in a pond now. There's only 22 fish in that 3.5K pond where that is, but absolutely obsessed. It's superb. Craig, sorry, just to clear up on the food thing, it's not that Saki's not available. It's just the distributor pissing around with product lines again. Yeah. But yeah, what a piece. What a piece that is. Absolutely loving it and can't wait to see it pushed on. This was released up for sale. I actually put it up for sale with the price valid until Sunday on our WhatsApp group. Yeah, absolute banger. So, and on that, actually, fact, guys, if you're not in our WhatsApp group already or our Telegram, links are both in the description. Get yourself in there. The Telegram community is absolutely buzzing. So much support in there from myself and the community, and just amazing, amazing vibes. Won't allow it to be any other way either. And the WhatsApp group now, I'm hosting auctions on there on a frequent basis. We are working to have one every Sunday, and then there'll be random bits throughout the week as well as all the updates and, you know, anything we've got going on, events that get launched, anything like that. They'll be heard about in there before they are publicly out on the channel or anywhere else. So get yourself in. Like I say, both links are in the description below. But yeah, there you go. What a piece. Absolutely amazing. One to track and watch for sure. But I mean, how amazing that that's come from a Ginrin Karashigoi spawning. So we talk about that, you know, 80 odd cm. I do kind of see that in the future of that fish if raised properly. And I mean, for me, even if that did all consolidate and become thick sumi, it's such impressive sumi that this is just going to look a picture regardless. A very, very, very exciting piece of a super, super high quality. And right, the next one. So this little Sankey, this picture I actually took, this is off of the certificate of the fish. I think it was Miss Barcelona, the parent set for this one. In fact, let me check that now because I've got it on my phone. He says, I think I've got it on my phone. Oh, yeah, I've cropped it. That's why. Sorry, Miss California, that one. Yeah, super piece. Now, you're going to see the picture. Well, let me show you anyway. So this has been raising in the Sakai pond with all the other fish. And this is now that piece as of yesterday when I photographed him at 38 centimeters as a Nisai. Now, just wow for a start. That's Anki right now. I can just picture exactly where it's going, and it's going to be scary good, let me tell you. With each batch of, with each next kind of jump in size, each 5 centimeters of length and the volume that comes with it, more and more of the elements of that pattern are going to pull into place, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. Highly technical piece as well, with that phenomenal pattern and balance and everything in there. It's just superb. You see the technical elements of it, the sumi quality, the beni, the shiroji, the whole lot. It's well structured for a male fish. So I know with that bone structure, I'm going to be able to get an imposing body onto it as well. There's no particularly overly male characteristics there whatsoever. So I know I'm going to be able to make that look super impressive. You look at the Kiwa look and the sashi, the whole lot. Kiwa, the back edge of the sumi, of the beni, superb. It's just amazing. Then you've got that pattern, the technicality of that pattern, you know, even all the little bits like the shiroji at the peduncle, just adding to that. There's sides as we're looking at this on the left side as we look at it to the fisher's right side. Even on that side, I can see shiroji elements there that will come a little bit more into play the bigger the fish gets, and the beni pattern kind of just lifts up a little bit. It's going to make such a massive, massive difference. But your first bit to look at, is where it's come from. Now, the general consensus that I know people look at fish, not truly understanding, is looking at that going, oh no, too much sumi, going to be too heavy. Now, that would absolutely be the case if that fish stayed at that size and didn't grow, because the sumi would eventually overpower it a little bit. But that's not often what happens. I know that wasn't going to happen. Likelihood is, I mean, that sumi, that can be young sumi that falls off completely. Now, luckily, that's not been the case with this. So what's happened is, as it has started to grow, the sumi's just kind of held. You can see it's changed a little bit, but then everything else has kind of pulled more into position around it, which is a perfectly normal growing process. That can happen with showa as well, when they look a bit too young, a bit too heavy when they're young. So you've gone from that to that look. And that process is just going to continue now. Again, if I stop the growth, you might find that, yeah, everything will consolidate a little bit, but I don't plan on stopping the growth. So that's going to absolutely just push on. But trust me, we're at 38 cm now. And that fish, I will expect, my target is 48 to 50 cm on that as the kind of finished article as on this side. Might even get it a bit bigger, who knows. But trust me, at that point, this is going to be mind-blowing. Never mind then the next year on from that. That's when it gets super, super exciting. But yeah, absolute wowzers piece. But check that out, look. Feel free, let me know in the comments, guys. Would that have been your assessment of that fish? Would you have been worried that was going to be too much, too sumi? Too finished is often a word that I hear used a lot. You know, them kind of things. Is that where you'd have been with that one? Would you have paid big money for a Tosai Sankey that looked like that? Because it's absolutely insane. So that one is for sale over on the WhatsApp group. Priced as it is until Sunday. I'm not honouring that price after that because it is in the growing pond, and that's the reason I often don't put these fish out until I deem them to be absolute ready. But honestly, and I am prepared to offer an additional year's growing with this one. Obviously, it'll come at an additional fee, but that by the time that hits Sansai, so kind of this time next year, honestly, if it's not sold, I guarantee it'll still be with me. And even if it does sell, I'm guessing it'll still be with me. So you will get to see it, no doubt. And I can't wait to share it with you at that point. Someone that's inexperienced with Sankey, yeah, I would have fallen into category too sumi, heavy, lesson learned. Thanks. There we go. Look, yeah. So I think the only way it can really sink in is understanding. Like I say, two ways that could have gone, and two ways I ever saw that go in was A, that'll kind of sumi will consolidate in a little bit, and everything will grow out around it. Or that sumi could have fell off completely, as it has done with a lot in that pond, and that will start reprogressing now as they hit Nisai and onwards, and certainly give them the time of year as well. But superb, absolutely superb. Yes, let's have a look there. Just another question there on winter, 8 degrees, and fish still looking. But yes, if you want to give them a bit, tiny amounts once a day, doesn't need to be any more than that. And just be careful, keep the same measured amount every day so you don't just overdo it one day accidentally and send the pond into a spin. There we go, people. Yeah, that's everything I've got lined up for you this week. Absolutely love that thing. Absolutely insane. I wish I'd have uploaded. In fact, just bear with me 1 second before we go, because I might actually be able to get hold of the video quite easily. And the Matsukawa Baki, to be fair. Oh, here we go. Look. Are you ready? Just look at that. Absolutely savvy. I think you can kind of grasp the volume it's actually got around the shoulders a little bit more in the video as well, and just see, look, where it looks a little bit busy around the second, third, potentially, you know, a bit more shiroji creeping in on that area. And my God, this fish is killer. And it's from Sakai, guys. I mean, so we know it can deliver on every other front going. Absolutely. Insane. Absolutely love it. this gets to that point again where, for me, although there's some other pretty exceptional pieces in there, that whole project to land on one piece like this is enough for me to just want to do it again and 10 times more the following year. It's absolutely insane. And then, yeah, just 1 second. And I believe I've got the Matsukawa back in here because that really does give a better impression of the body. There we go. Look at that. What a piece. There's been massive progression on the head as well. I don't actually know what's forming there. It looks like some memoir at the minute. If that forms memoir on its head and actually kept it, it'd look absolutely insane. Just love that body line look. So much power in there, but it holds it really, really well. Superb. Absolutely superb. Look at that body line there. It's again got a lot of power sat on them shoulders, which is amazing to see. Last one. Let's just have a look at that one more time, because honestly, this thing blows my mind. Just so easy to visualize the next year or two for that one. Dreamy stuff. Mega koi show piece as well. To be honest, that's what frustrates me when I land on bits like that, because that is quality enough to be in a show scene in Japan, let me tell you. Absolutely. I think I've won enough awards and got enough experience to be qualified enough to say that it would compete. It would be right up there. What a piece. Love it. There we go. Thanks for everybody who's tuned in. Hopefully, I'll be absolutely firing and back on form for next week. But do stay tuned for what's coming on the channel. I've actually got a few of the harvest videos that we've had Rie out in Japan filming for us. We've got an amazing, the NND champion mud pond, an epic Marido Sansai, and the Nagami main pond harvest coming, which is all absolutely fantastic stuff. And then we've got another journal episode coming, which has got the Sakai harvest on. That was absolutely staggering. And yeah, we'll see where we go from there. So, like I say, appreciate that, guys. Everybody who's tuned in, amazing. And thank you for the support every week. A last one from me. Get yourself into the Telegram and WhatsApp if you aren't, because you're missing out by not being in there, especially in the Telegram side, guys, because it's just such an amazing community. And thank you to everyone in there who is participating to make it so awesome as well. That's all from me. I will see you next week.